and welcome back to the Free Motion Quiltalong. Oh, it's been a little bit of a break, but the year's not over yet and I'm determined to get the rest of these blocks finished. So moving right along, I've done all of my sample blocks and I'm pretty much caught up and ready to keep going. This block is called Barred for Life. Mostly just because of this the fun little lines on the outside, or piano keys. Reminded me a little bit of our stop in San Francisco at Alcatraz. I don't know, I don't usually go in for the touristy kind of things, but then there is something to be said for doing stuff when you get there that you might regret that you didn't do later on, if that makes any sense. So yes, we went to Alcatraz and it was actually a lot of fun. It was very interesting, very informative, and I'm super glad that I went. So this block has some interesting little features. You can see mine is slightly different to the original printout, and it had to be because I really had to decide which rulers I wanted to use for this central design. I knew I wanted to use a ruler, but I wasn't really sure which one it was going to be. Now you can still see some blue pen marks. I have given this a bit of a spritz with some water, but you can see that some of the blue is yet to come out. I'll give it another spritz, and even if I have to spritz it 3 or 4 more times to get it all out, that is fine. It will eventually come out. Just don't iron anything because that's the dangerous bit. Okay, so this is done on one of the outside edge blocks, meaning that it has 1 inch at the bottom and 1 inch up the sides, 2.5 inches up the back. Okay, so you just need to make sure that when you trace the pattern or whatever you're going to trace onto your fabric from the pattern, you may trace bits, you may trace the whole thing, that you position it properly on the block. But all those instructions, of course, are in the original PDF file. Okay, so for this one, I ended up deciding, so I should just take you briefly through it. I basically drew on these guys and then stitched over the top of them because that was an easy way for me to get them nice and consistent. These are done with a square ruler, and this one is done with the Circles on Quilts ruler by Westalee, which I am going to show you now. Alrighty, so this is the Circles on Quilts spinning wheel number 36 by Westalee Designs. I do believe that that is now So Steady, but originally designed by Leonie West from Westalee. This gives a great little repetitive design, like a little flower design, which you've seen on the center of the quilt, which you can then go and fill in later on. The important bits for this one to be aware of is that it has a hole here. So the hole is for a little thumbtack device, which comes up through the back of your quilt. You pop the ruler on and you put the thumbtack through there, and that actually just locks in the position of this ruler. So it's not going to move away from that central position on your quilt or your block. The important thing also to look at are these little petal shapes, these little sort of petals here and on this side, because they are going to help you to rotate and locate the ruler in the correct position each time. It does also have some crosshairs. I don't tend to use the crosshairs much on this one, but then maybe I just haven't found a way to use them. Doesn't mean that they're not useful, it's just that I haven't used them. For a lot of Leonie's designs, she suggests that you mark crosshairs on your quilt block itself, because then you can just use these lines to line up with the crosshairs. And I'm going to guess if you go and watch some of her really great videos, that's what you're going to see. You'll also notice that I have some grippy tape on the back here, and that is just to stop my ruler from sliding around. So you can use this kind of tape, or like a gecko grip type kind of tape, that works as well. And I have got a little bit of Scotch tape, which is just holding this puzzle piece in at the moment, but that will come out if you need it to come out to put your foot on. So let's get into it, and we'll actually quilt this center bit first. I'm going to show you how I've marked up my block, and we'll get stuck in and get this block done. Here we go. So that is the print out for the Barred for Life block. And as you can see, yes, I have much more square designs that I've drawn on Illustrator, just to kind of give you an idea of you know, a spinny ruler kind of design. By all means, if you like this, you could trace that onto your block and stitch that, and it would look great. I love the little star that forms in the middle. That's kind of cool. So if we have a look at what I have traced, you can see I've done my outside edge to give me an idea of where to stop those piano keys at. And of course, we need to know exactly where the block's going to form. And I have done these nice little curvy lines as well, because as I said, I'm just going to stitch over those. And I've marked the center point, and I need that for my thumbtack. So I'm going to bring the thumbtack up through the back. Sometimes the easiest way to do that is to drive it down through the top first and make a little hole so that you know where to bring it up from at the back. All right, so I've gone ahead and popped that thumbtack through, so there you can see the very top sharp bit of the thumbtack. And then what I'm going to do is place my ruler over the thumbtack so the hole goes through the thumbtack. So what you're going to see is that it's just going to keep that ruler in that one position as we move around. And it is kind of important because you can move quite a lot with rulers. So by having that little thumbtack there, I'm going to be able to pivot around but not actually move off that center position. And it's going to mean that my design is going to end up being right around the center, exactly where I need it to be. So I actually want to line that up with this top position, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so we're starting at A. We're going to rotate up to the top and then back down to B. So nice and slowly, and we're just pushing the foot up against the outside edge. I'm just going to stop and get that little thread out of the way. It's really hard with ruler work to manage your threads. So I'm just going to continue on stitching nice and slowly. So when you get to the top, we're just going to take another stitch or two. I'm going to come down and rest at B, so it's not the same place as A. And that's going to be one petal shape. You can kind of feel your foot just hop in it at B, like there's a little, kind of like a little cutout where it just wants to sit. So what I'm going to do now is rotate the ruler. And what we're wanting to see is this little petal shape here. This bottom arc will actually sit in the stitching line that you've created. And what's happening at the same time is if I rotate this around, your foot is actually moved over to A, or actually we've moved the ruler, but you'll find that your foot is now located at A, whereas it was at B. So we're now going to just take a couple of stitches and away we go again. Just nice and slowly up to the top. A couple of stitches to lock it in. Back down to B. And stop. And we're going to rotate the ruler again. Now this time you'll see that the little leaf shape is completely on top of your stitching. And away we go again. So we're back at A. And rotate the ruler into that next leaf shape. We're back at A again. And keep rotating until you have all of your petal shapes done. Okay, so this should be the last one. Now what you'll find is, look, it's not absolutely spot on perfect, but this leaf and this leaf should line up in either side, roughly. Okay, that means that when we come back down, it's going to be in the right position to make a complete shape. Certainly easier than me trying to make those lids all by myself. And there we go, it is complete. So there we have, our little flower is finished. Look, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I'm certainly not going to be bothered to unpick anything. I will get rid of that nasty thread that was causing me so much hassle. I'm going to change my foot over, or maybe not, change my foot over and just do this little curvy line and the echo around it, and then we'll move on to those piano keys. Well, part of this project was just about learning and I guess also pushing your skills a little bit. So I'm going to leave this ruler foot on. I'm not going to change over to the open toe foot. And I guess that's what it's all about. It's about having a go at doing something that's a little bit different, maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone. So I'm going to leave this on. I can actually still see through that onto the lines underneath. It's not, you know, impossible, but it's certainly not as easy as having an open toe foot. So take that extra stitch there and away we go. And there we are, back at the beginning. Backtrack a few stitches. And now we're ready to do the echo. There we go, back to the beginning, and all of those nice little swirls are done. So obviously that's an area that could be filled in if you wanted it to be. I don't know, I think I might just leave mine plain. Kind of like the way that it looks when it's finished. And there we go, a little bit messy, a few threads to pull through, but otherwise done. Right, for this next bit with the piano keys, we're actually going to have to mark so that we have inch lines outside of this center line. So we have to mark the center line so that we can put the ruler on it, if that makes any sense. So the ruler line is going to be the first 1/4 inch line, because our stitching line will be out here another 1/4 inch, which is a 1/2 inch from the center line. So there'll be a 1/2 inch there, there'll be a 1/2 inch on the other side, creating a 1 inch piano key. All, as they say, will make a whole lot more sense as we go along. So I've put my ruler, I'm just using my little Fremo friend. I've got my ruler there, my foot is there. I'm going to bring the foot down. Hopefully the threads just don't want to play nicely with me at all today, probably because I'm rushing things a little bit. There we go. Lines are lining up. Okay, we're going to go back until we hit our previous stitching. Now at this point you can leave the ruler where it is because it will move with the foot. And we're just going to stitch very slowly over the top of our existing stitching. This is really slow, careful work. So what we're looking for is a little bit further away than that. Getting close now. We want to be 3/4 of an inch away from the line that we just stitched, so that when we come back down, we've got 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and the quarter here between the ruler and the needle. So away we go. Now this line, you can turn the work if you want to and use the ruler. And just push along until you've got that inch of space. But sometimes you'll need to come back again, like I have here. So I'm going to need to come back a few stitches until we have the 1, 2, 3/4 inches. Back up to the work, and we are doing piano keys. Very wide piano keys, but they are piano keys. I just find it's easier to leave the ruler there than to keep taking it off all the time. And it's not really going to do any harm, as long as I don't stitch on it, which I don't have any chance of doing with the ruler set at the right, or the foot set at the right height. Oh, we're very wonky there, but it doesn't really matter because that's the edge. Back a little bit, line that up, and we've nearly finished one little section. But the most important bits to stitch properly are the ones over this little flower design. And actually I need to stop there because I am not in the right place, so I'm going to stop there and start again on the other side. All right, so here we are again, starting from the center out. You can tell I'm rusty at this, guys, because I definitely ended up in the wrong place. So we are doing the other side of the piano keys. This is just really a guesstimate of an inch, so you kind of eyeball it, bring the work back around, then throw the ruler on it. And oh my goodness, that was lucky. That was exactly an inch away. Nearly, not quite. So you're going to do each of these edges working from the center point out rather than from the sides in. Not quite there yet. And that's the last one for that side. Now that's where I should have stopped on the other end. But it doesn't matter, it was only a little bit more echoing. So there we go. There's our piano keys finished for one side. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the other two, which no doubt you'll be watching very sped up. So that's that one. There we go. We've finished the Bard for Life block. So you can see we've finished all the piano keys all the way around. So all that's left now is to hit it with this spritz water bottle and get all those blue lines off. You've got 2 of these to do for the finished quilt. And I will see you very soon for the next block. Thanks guys, bye.